Volleyball is a game played 6-on-6. It starts with a serve to the other side, and they have 3 contacts in order to get the ball back over the net. Once the ball touches the ground, the rally is over and the other team gets the serve. So, like any sport, volleyball has specific physiological demands that a trainer must identify and meet. So I've done a sport-specific analysis to identify different testing protocols for the sport and training priorities and potential injuries that could come from volleyball. We've also done a case study on Chelsea, who is training to be on the national women's team. From there, we've identified her strengths and weaknesses and made training priorities and a periodized training schedule for her. So in volleyball, training that's most important is resistance training, emphasizing on power, because there's a lot of jumping, whether you're serving, attacking, blocking, and setting. Anaerobic conditioning, the sport is made out of high-intensity bouts that last 4 to 30 seconds. Agility training, it's a very reactive sport. You are always reacting to the ball and the play that's going on the other side. Plyometrics is important to add to your training because a lot of jump training is needed. Aerobic conditioning, the game can last up to 2 hours, so making sure your body is able to clear the lactic acid out. And the skill development and gameplay is left for the coach to do. And the coach and the trainer can work together to make a periodized training schedule for the athlete. So the physiological tests that are done for volleyball kind of vary between elite athletes and, say, high school students, but for the most part, they'll stay the same. I've identified ones that are done for elite athletes, so they're going to test for like physiological aspects of the makeup of the player. So they'll do height and weight and body percentage. So here we'll do the skin fold test, the VO2 max test. So usually it's just a treadmill protocol. To test for anaerobic power, we'll do an ergometer test called the wind weight test. Vertical jump test, so sometimes it's just a standing vertical jump, or they'll do a 2-step approach, so like an attack vertical jump. Agility is done using the T-drill to test for the athlete's ability to accelerate, decelerate, and change direction. Strength, max strength test is done. Bench press is done for upper body and a squat for lower body, so they test for your 1 to 3 RM. And a sprint test for speed, so it depends who's doing the test, but it could be 10 or 20 yards. The physiological priorities of volleyball. Personal trainer's job would be to develop power in the athlete, so you need a lot of power in your legs for the repetitive jumping, power in your arms for overhead movements, so serving and attacking. And anaerobic power, again, the game is made up of short high-intensity bouts. So, a personal trainer will also use agility to train the athletes, to work on their reaction time, and plyometrics, so different jumping exercises, and aerobic conditioning. So, potential injuries that come from volleyball. There are acute injuries and overuse injuries. The most common acute injury is an ankle sprain, and it mostly happens during net play, so an athlete will jump and land on another athlete's ankle, or will just land the wrong way on his own ankle. Overuse injuries, tendinitis of the patellar tendon and in the shoulder and the rotator cuff. So for the knee, it's from different jumping and landing patterns, incorrect ways, just repetitive use of that. And overhead movements for the shoulder, so repetitive setting, hitting, and blocking. So our client's strength and weaknesses. Her strengths are her physiological makeup. So she is quite tall and has a higher standing reach than the national team average. And her upper body power was good. It was identified by doing an overhead mid-ball toss. And that's an attribute for attacking and serving. Her weaknesses are her jump height. So that's where we really need to train that leg power. Her anaerobic capacity is below average. Her sprint speed, her agility, and her VO2 max. So I've identified 3 priorities that we need to train for our clients. The first one is her leg strength or her leg power. So to be able to increase her jump height is very important because she's a middle blocker, so she needs to be able to jump very high. Secondly is her anaerobic conditioning for short sprints and the repetitive jumping during the play. And her agility to increase her reaction time. Volleyball is a very fast-paced sport, so you really need to be fast and able to react to where the ball is going next. So I've chosen 1 exercise and 4 progressions from it that our athlete has, and I have another client, Thomas, that's going to demonstrate these for us. So we're going to start with a stabilization exercise. So it's just a wall squat. Alright, you can lower and up. So here we're really making sure the knee isn't valgusing in and that the knee is following the big toe and the second toe. Go again. And up. Good. So our next progression is the single leg squat. And again, this is a stabilization exercise. So the client will lift one leg slightly off the ground and lower down and up. So our client isn't very flexible, so we're going to the sticking point and then coming back up before any altered movement patterns are created. Can you do one on your right side? So again, we want to make sure his knee isn't valgusing in. One more. Better. Alright, so our third progression is a back squat using a barbell. Or we're just going to use a broomstick to demonstrate. So just a regular old back squat, making sure the client's shoulder blades are back and feet are shoulder width apart. Good. And really making sure that lower back isn't arching. Go again. Good. Alright, our fourth progression is a jump squat on a Smith machine. Now, we don't have a Smith machine, so we're just going to use the broomstick and demonstrate what it would look like. And this is a power exercise. Alright, so it's more of an explosive movement, so down quicker and up quicker. All in one. There you go. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Thomas. Okay, the max power portion of Chelsea's program is really important for blocking, attacking, and serving. Blocking, we need explosive leg power for a two-step approach and for a lateral approach. Attacking, it's a two-step approach, so a forward approach, and arm power for attacking, but she's already strong in that spot, so we're not going to train that for her. And max power for serving as well, so upper body and lower body, because you could be doing a jump serve. So we started Chelsea in a power strength, and so she's doing a strength exercise followed by a power exercise, and then into a power endurance for the repetitive jumping movements, because she could be doing, you know, up to 7 blocks in one rally, so really training that. And then we go just into a normal power routine for her as she gets ready for tryouts. Her anaerobic conditioning. So volleyball is made up of intervals lasting 4 to 30 seconds, so anaerobic conditioning is very important. We want to change her type 2 muscle fibers into a stronger glycolytic subtype, so one that's more ATP, PC energy system rather than just ATP. So we want to develop the fibers that have more force than endurance. So her alactic capacity system and her alactic power. So the power's up to 10 seconds. So we'll train that one a little bit, but more so her alactic capacity, because it's 10 to 25 seconds. So for training her agility and plyometrics, plyometric exercises, we didn't start her with them at the very beginning, so we weren't sure if she's done them before. So once she is in them, we start with cone hops, forward and lateral, followed by a sprint, kind of to simulate blocking and then going to block again, closing the block again. Tuck jumps, vertical jumps, single leg jumps. Then we progressed into box drills, so jumping over boxes and onto boxes, forward and lateral, because she will be closing the block, so running laterally and then jumping. And then we'll move into depth jumps, so to trigger the explosive eccentric cycle, so stepping off of a box and then jumping. Some agility drills we've come up with are a ladder drill, which is a quickness drill, triangle drill. So really it's to emphasize that she'll be going to the net to attack and then backpedaling off, and then going to the net to attack, backpedaling off. So we're just going to do a triangle drill like that, including side shuffle. So it'll be side shuffle at the net, backpedaling, sprint, side shuffle, backpedal, sprint. So that's a programmed drill, a pre-planned one. And then we have some reactive drills that the coach will run, or the trainer. So a mirror drill, so the coach will do something and you're going to do Chelsea's going to do the exact same thing. So it's really important in volleyball, because really you are mirroring the player on the other side of the net. And the coach will do change of direction drills, so just telling you which way. It could be a verbal cue or a body cue. Alright, so Chelsea's periodization. So we started her in stabilization for 3 weeks, just again, because we're not sure where she's at in her resistance training program. And then going into strength, power strength for 3 weeks, power endurance for 2 weeks. And that's really a really high volume there. It's kind of her crash cycle before she starts to taper off in just power for the last 2 weeks before tryouts. So, and near the end of each phase, the intensity stays high, but the volume drops for regeneration to let her body adapt to the prior phase. And then, like I said, the last 2 weeks, the volume tapers off in preparation for tryouts. So, with Chelsea, following the periodized training regimen, that includes the anaerobic training, which we identified as weakness, the strength training emphasizing power, doing agility drills and plyometrics. It'll help her increase her jump height and her anaerobic capacity.